going to walk you through how to make the flip-flop sign right now. I'm just going to focus on the flip-flops right now. So the first thing you probably need to do is have some water and a paper towel handy. And our first step is we're going to paint everything that with our flip-flops that needs to be white. So we're going to paint our stars. So we're going to take them off of here. And we're also going to paint the right flip-flop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sponge brush and our white paint. I'm going to put 2 coats on each surface. So I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm just going to demonstrate. And then coat it and let it dry, and you'll see like the white paint doesn't cover it that great, so you'll definitely need 2 coats. So I'm going to put 2 coats on everything and then I'll come back. All right, so now I'm back. So I have my white stars and my white flip-flop drying here side. I put 2 coats. If you want, you could, as you're painting, just keep on recoating it a little if you need to cover something up. But on top of all this, we're going to put like a gray, like dry brushing, so you're not even going to see any imperfections. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint our left flip-flop blue. So I am going to do my first coat. I'm just using my smaller brush. I'm going to do my first coat in the blue that you have. And my second coat, I'm actually going to add a little black into the blue as I paint, just so it gets like a darker navy. So you're just going to coat it, spread out all the chunks as you paint. Spread out all those chunks. You could get your edges too. Sometimes the edges are problemsome for me. So I'm just putting my first coat. If you like it that blue, you could leave it that blue, but if you want it like a little darker, like a little navy, I'm going to show you what you could do next. I'm not even going to wait for this first coat to dry, and I'm going to start putting on a second coat. And as you're painting that second coat, just put a tiny bit of black on your brush and just brush that in. If you end up putting too much black, just put blue over. And this is just going to give it a teeny bit darker of a blue. If you put too much black, just keep on putting blue on top of it. But if you want it like that really royal blue that you got, you can leave it like that too. And just make sure as you're painting that second coat to spread it out. So you see the difference, that's our original color, and that's what I ended up with, adding that little black to it. So I'm going to continue going on the bottom, put a little tiny bit of black into it. That looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to set all my flip-flops aside and let them dry completely. Because as you're letting them dry, what you could do is you could go back and start painting your board. I'm not really going to show you, but I would just use your big brush. You could do it any color that you want. If you have these are acrylic paint, so if you have different acrylic paints, you could paint it whatever color you'd like. I did white. So you just take your big brush, put a little white, go back and forth, and you're gonna cover the whole board. And you could either choose the smooth side or this is called the faux palette side to paint. I did the faux palette. I thought it looked a little rustic, so I like that. But I'm just gonna flip it over and do this as the example. So you're just gonna go left to right, paint nice long strokes of this white paint. And you're going to put 2 coats on it and then let it dry. Because by the time you put 2 coats on it, and do your edges too so it looks nice. So the time you put 2 coats on it, we could probably go back and start doing our red stripes. So I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to put 2 coats on it, and when everything's all dry, I'll come back and show you what we're going to do next. So we are back. Everything is pretty much dry. And what I'm going to do next is, before we start like putting gray dry brushing everywhere, I'm going to add my red streaks, my red stripes to my white flip-flop. So what you could do, you could use a pencil and draw out lines, or you could find your nifty difty sponge brush. And this sponge brush, if you put enough paint on it, you need about like that much paint, kind of place it how it would be on the board, and then what you could do is it's going to give you a nice inch stripe. So go lightly, and then you guys could go back and kind of fill in that stripe, but it'll give you a nice line. And then you kind of have to skip an inch and then do another line. Oops. And use like the edge to just like make the edge nice. Skip a little, go across. Then I'm going to put a little illusion of a stripe down here. And once again, the red that I gave you is a really bright red. If you want to like make it almost like a little deeper, you could put a little black into it, and it's just going to give you a deeper tone of red. Okay, we got our red stripes. We're going to put that aside, let that dry. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to try some gray dry brushing. So what you're going to need is, I use my small brush. Make sure it's really dry. And what you could do on a separate plate, I'm just have the same mixing plate that I've been using, and it's gross now, but on a separate plate, put some white on it, wash your brush, and then put a teeny bit of black in it. So you get a nice light gray. Once you get that nice light gray, wash and dry your brush. And what you're gonna do, I'm gonna put this on everything pretty much. I'm gonna take my flip-flop. And ready, I'm gonna go left and right, put a little bit of paint on your dry brush, and then take a little bit off. And I'm just very lightly gonna go left to right. I always start at the edge and bring it in. And this is gonna give it like a little rusticy, aged look. If you mess up and put too much, you could always put a little blue on top of it, but you just gotta wait till it dries a little bit. So I'm gonna go through and just put streaks everywhere. And you don't have to be perfect, because we're gonna put our stars on top of it. I'm even gonna do it to the stars, because my stars didn't get completely white because they're a little yellowing, because all these shapes are laser cut, so there'll be some burn marks on the edge. So I'm gonna do for each star too. I think it looks nice. And if you feel like you're too heavy-handed at a certain point, you need a tiny bit of paint on it. You could always wash your brush. Wash your brush, let that paint dry, and then you could go back and like put a little more white on top of the stars if you want to make them more white, just to give the effect of what it's going to look like. And the dry brushing dries pretty quickly. So next I'm going to move on to dry brush my round. I'm going to start at that edge and go through the whole thing. If you're doing the pleat side too, or the palette side, I almost put a little gray in the creases. And I did the dry brushing on the background just so the flip-flop, because I knew this was going to be a white flip-flop, it would stick out. So just use that brush and dry brush everything. All right, so I am going to also dry brush my striped flip-flop, but I want to wait until my flip-flop, the red, dries. So my red is still drying a little bit, but I'm going to put a little bit on. For the most part, my red is, oopsie, my red wasn't dry. I'm going to cheat a little and just put those gray marks on my white stripes. Guess what? My video never shot, so now I have to reshoot it. So I already demonstrated how to do this, but I am just gonna leave that one there, and I'm gonna take off the glue from this one. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I dry brushed everything. Everything's dry, it's looking all good right now. There's glue on everything, but that's all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to put the straps of the flip-flop on. So the first thing you're gonna do, take your string, cut it in half. And then one piece is for the left, one piece is for the right. From that string, you're going to fold it in half. So you have the ends and then a folded end. That looks like that. The folded end, that little loop, you're going to put it through the middle hole. And then once you put it through the middle hole, don't mind my glue, you are going to tape it. And any tape will work, masking tape will work. I've just Scotch tape. Any tape will work. So then, after you do that, you're gonna put the other little stringies through my 2 remaining holes. If it's a little frayed, cut it on the edge, or cut it at an angle to get a nice little point that you could put it through the hole. So put each one through the hole. Once you put it through the hole, you're gonna just tape it again. So you have something else like that. And then you're just going to tape it. And any extra string you have, you could trim it. Okay, so there, we have a little flip-flop. So there's little, so it's not gonna, when we glue it, it's not gonna lay flat because this string. So what we're gonna do, you could lay out you're gonna do that for both sides, both flip-flops, the left and the right, and just put it, the same process, take your remaining string, fold it, put the folded end through the middle hole, and then put the other ends through the other holes. So what we're gonna do, you put a lot of glue on the back. You could use any glue. I'm using wood glue, but this is just like White Elmer's, like glue all. For this, a lot of glue goes a long way. You want a lot of glue because it doesn't lay flat, so you want that you want the flip-flop to make contact with your board. I'm gonna put it on this one, some more. And you might have to like put a little weight on it to make sure these puppies stay down. And at this point is when you could start adding your stars. My stars are already added because I went through this process already and forgot to tape. So I'm just gonna add another little star up here. And then we have our flip-flops. So you might have to put a little pressure on it, make sure it makes contact with that board and stays down, but your sign is complete. I hope you had a good time. If you have any extra paints, use them for something. All right, have a good one. Bye.